forgiving taxes in Ghana, and we are going to go in that direction. There are also in terms of the tax reform, Ghana. The second area is in the import duty regime. My steady import duty regime, and I realize that there are two issues. One, I want us to bring in the flat tax regime also into the import duty side. Flat tax regime, it brings predictability of import duty. The current system, it has an inflationary bias because Ukraine now Ukraine said Ubetria 10,000 cities as duty. Ubetruno now your assets maybe for 15,000 and now 20,000. We see exchange rate assessment and now say benchmark valuation no assessment something. So Ukraine say Ubetria 10,000 now Ubetria 20,000. Ebi ana way to me Ubetria na yesizi union. No 1 ton near man of 5,000 above. And yes, sir. Now, who could do market high? Just a body who prices called so. And yes, you will increase the prices. So the lack of predictability of duty is an inflationary bias. So all the time, now who tons who dreams and they told me na me call na me buy. There may ABC. Now the price from Akosoro to make up for the expected increase in future. The main solution is said, let's bring predictability in the duty regime because we import a lot and pricing, imported pricing, it affects inflation in Ghana. The solution is said, first of all, we do a flat rate in cities. A flat rate in cities. In cities. Yeah, but respecting the currency, we have to start at the port. We have to start respecting the city at the port. So remember, so that we spare parts dealer, not only 40-foot container and bar. The flat rate must be in cities. If it's 20,000 cities, the importer must know it's 20,000 cities. So whatever time they arrive is 20,000. Now what we are, even before they arrive, now the container. If it is rice, now they bar. 40-footer is this, 20-footer is this. Chicken is that. Tomato, the flat rate. So, who could do market high? There's nothing that says you should increase the price. So, we want the flat rate in cities, predictability, and reduce corruption at the port. So the next reformer, the president, who said, and then our competitor ports to Tema, any Lumi, Togo, that is the competitor port. So, and he said, who are not Tom Wachi, maybe so next door or Tom Wachi. So, ODA 10 cities, 5 cities. I said it will be remember. So Togo for almost due to know at that form chain. 80 said a move. If I be Omoko clay over containers for Togo. No more smuggling. Sagus Nabaka. And yes, sir. Now over the bar. And you're setting up task force. Say Omoko and coaches animal. And yes, I know. That is not a good way to solve the problem. The way to solve the problem is the solution I'm bringing. to make a policy. Say Ghana duty cannot be higher than Togo duty. You cap the Ghana duty. It cannot be higher than, it can be lower, but it cannot be higher. So for every item, we'll make sure, say, Ghana duty cannot be higher. Once we set that policy, no, smuggling no best copy. There's no incentive to go. And yes, sir. So the import duty regime is very sanitized. The local income tax, corporate tax, individual tax regimes, no, are very sanitized. We want to introduce this new system next year. It's one major reformer, many said, about businesses, about private sector, about government, so because then we can expand the tax net. We know who has not filed, who has filed, we know where to get them and everything. About why, so the import duty, the local tax system, is going to be very, very important. Reform number 2, we expand the opportunities for the private sector. The private sector, a bit more government power. One of the problems I want and the government tries to do everything. Everything. Whether you are building hospitals, schools, roads, anything, government tries to do it. But government doesn't have enough money to do everything. Maybe said government should give the opportunity to the private sector to help government to deliver on these things. There are a few things. Open said top buses, Emma schools. Under the current system, government has to look for money to buy, say, 700, 800 buses, Emma schools. Now, you don't have that money immediately. So it will take a long time. Many schools don't get the buses. Maybe you'll be able to afford 200. And then Omonia buses. But if you turn it the other way around and say to the private sector, say, supply 800 buses to the schools for me, and I'll lease these buses from you, and I'll pay every month for the leased buses. The private sector will supply the buses. And the government can pay every month for these buses. Open will see new prisons or the context here and now labor. The private sector has built hostels, isn't it? It's not government too. Private sector. Empty that same thing. If I want to build prisons in this country, I can ask the private sector, build it and I'll rent it from you for the next 25, 30 years. And pay monthly rather than at a go. Ubo said the burden on government will come down and all the projects will be finished on time. All the projects will be finished on time. Person will see dormitory. You can ask the private sector to do. And so you will see that so many uncompleted projects are yet because the private sector because they have an incentive to finish those projects. This is how I've done digitalization in Ghana. Digitalization, private sector. This is what I have done. Ghana card is private sector. It's not government. I get a government and Ghana, and yes, sir, government needs us to come up front to spend. It is a private sector. You spend, and then you get fees over time, and you make your money. Digital addresses, Ghana.gov, private sector come in. So I know that I hear Juma with digitalization. It can work with every sector of the economy. First thing I'm in the budget, 2025 budget, I want to reduce government expenditure by 3% of GDP. That is 30 billion Ghana cedis. and give it to the private sector to come in and work. The opportunities for the private sector will be huge. And Ugo said jobs will be coming in because they are not going to be sitting down here. Because people have money to invest, they don't know where to invest it. But if we have off-taker agreements by government in many areas, the private sector will feel comfortable. And the government will not feel pressure because you don't have to go and borrow large amounts of money to be able to pay for schools, roads, and all of that. So borrowing will also come down, which means interest rates will come down and taxation will also come down. So we are moving and realigning expenditure of government to the private sector. And then a one business, because a lot of the time government is not able to complete a lot of projects. The TOSWA, one private sector, is in the cost of electricity. Everybody has come, said, complaining about power costs. Our power cost is very high. The corridor is we to produce, generate power, we are relying a lot on oil and gas. Never also end up for any problem in the Middle East. Now prices are costly. Then you have to increase your electricity prices. So there are two things. In the meantime, for certain key manufacturing companies, we want to give them the base load pricing so that they can have lower costs in manufacturing. The second major reform, which we are going to move because I've announced it, said Ghana should move away from a dependence on oil and gas to dependence on solar power to generate electricity. We need to go to solar. We per se installing 2,000 megawatts of solar power. We don't have to go and pay foreign exchange to get the sun to shine in Ghana. It's shining for free. Here top area, we will just harness the power. We power has started, but we want to go major, 2,000 megawatts in 4 years. And also, Chirese, I don't want us to be importing the solar panels. It wouldn't make sense. I want us to set up the factories here to manufacture solar panels, to move Ghana from oil and gas to solar. Once we manufacture panels, we can export them to our neighboring countries. So I want, and the estimates are we can bring down the cost of electricity by at least 50% if we move to solar power. And make our businesses more competitive in this area. The first one, is in the area of digitalization of land. Land is a very major area of disputes in our system because ownership and title is always disputed. As I say, I'm 4 different people, and they are not aware. And the only way that we want to do it is to digitalize so that even on your mobile phone, you can find out who owns this piece of land. So digitalization is very important. But usually it's 2 lands, problems to be very war. Because many of the chiefs, because they have large tracts of land, they don't register because who will register? You have to pay a registration fee. And so many don't register. I want to make sure, we have a 2-step process. One is to allow all land to be registered without a fee as far as the chiefs are concerned. They should all register the land. But when you sell the land, we can get our registration fee after you sell the land and collect it at that point. But for now, it's important, say, you register all the land to stop all the disputes and to allow the mortgage market to develop in our country. We will allow free land registration, and then when you sell, we will get our money so that we can get, because otherwise most of the chiefs will not register because it's very expensive for the large tracts of land and that is going to be very, very important. The other area which really has really troubled all of us for a long time, which I've been thinking about in the last couple of years, is in the area of the exchange rate. This exchange rate, is one area. You see that since independence, that if you track our rate of exchange, it's been one-way direction. It doesn't matter. Every year, it's about slowing down the rate of depreciation. But the rate of depreciation just keeps going. But you try to slow it down. And that is one major task for all of us. I believe, sir, the best way to deal with our currency is not only to have the fiscal responsibility that is there, but we need to back our currency with gold. We need to move into a gold-backed currency ultimately. Why do I say so? If you look at it, I'm talking of ultimately, if you look at it, a lot of this country is very endowed with gold. There's no doubt about it. Small-scale mining produces almost 50 tons of gold officially a year. That is almost $3 billion. This is only the small-scale side. But what Ghana has that most countries don't have is that we have gold. That is a major asset. So, in fact, when I came up with the idea of gold for oil, initially many people didn't understand it because we were really on the verge of a major collapse when I came up with the idea of gold for oil. To say that we are looking to buy oil, but we don't have foreign exchange. Because the foreign exchange was depleted. You remember 2022, where we were headed. So I said, well, we don't have foreign exchange, but we have gold. And we can use our CDs to buy the gold in Ghana and use the gold to pay for the oil. So we are essentially taking up foreign exchange without having, because if it's cocoa, you have to first export to get the foreign exchange. But with gold, you just have to mine it and you can get your foreign exchange. So I said, let's do for gold for oil. And we did gold for oil. And it saved Ghana from complete collapse. We bought, because Michelle, Ghana is Africa's largest producer of gold. Largest. But when I looked at the data, Ghana had 8.7 tons of gold. 8. Single 8. We have been the largest producer of gold in Africa. The 6th largest producer in the world. But you look at our foreign reserves of gold, it was 8.7 tons. 8 into 10. You look at the United States, 8,000 tons. You look at Germany, almost 2,500 tons. Similar for France, similar for the UK. But the largest producer of gold in Africa, the 6th largest in the world, only had 8.7 tons. So I said, there's something wrong. That's why I said Bank of Ghana needs to start a gold purchase program. In the last year and a half, we have moved from 8 tons to 32 tons. 8 to 32. And without doing that, we would have been in a bigger problem than we are today. But for me, this is just the tip of the iceberg. I believe that there are demands for foreign exchange, major demands. And I think that our market is so thin that any small demand, a company wants $50 million. If they get onto our market, it changes the exchange rate immediately. Forex bureaus are rushing around trying to find dollars. So, if, for example, a company wants $50 million, all you can tell them is, give me the seeds. You give me the seeds. I'll buy gold and give you your dollars. Don't go to the market to increase the exchange rate. You get where I'm going. So we can use the seed, the gold that we have to back our seed, to protect these large fluctuations that are taking place in the currency. Because gold, no dear, gold, we can buy the gold, even from the small scale producers. We are betting up to $3 billion every year. And so there are large demands are ever on the market that we don't really need to allow them to destabilize. If we have the gold, bring the cedis. Bank of Ghana will buy gold and give you your foreign exchange. It will help us so that the demands of businessmen for normal transactions which come on the market will not be pushing the exchange rate up. Let's identify the 10 largest demanders of foreign exchange and say, look, you guys demand so much foreign exchange. We will satisfy you. Bring your cedis. We will buy gold and give you your dollars that you need. And best sanitizing the foreign exchange market and bring down the level of depreciation to a very minimal level and keep it very stable going forward. And I think this is where we are going, and we are not waiting for next year to start it. I think we are beginning to implement this idea right now, and you should hopefully see some impact. But it's taking a lot of thinking to sort of see how we can get out of this particular situation. But I believe, sir, reliance on what God has given us, gold, can help us reduce the pressure on the dollar, on the cedi going forward. So I believe, sir, gold-backed foreign exchange transactions was one key area that we can make a whole lot. And Ghana, Geological Survey Department has told us, said, the unexplored gold reserves are about 5 billion ounces. That is like $10 trillion. So just a fraction of that, a very big difference among Ghana. And so I think we need to look at it very, very carefully. And it is in this context that Mr. per se, review of the small-scale mining sector, so that we can stop a lot of the galamsey that is taking place. I want us licensing the small-scale miners, give them a direction in terms of areas. The Geological Survey Department will find where the gold is. Right now, they're just going looking for gold, but they don't know exactly where the gold is. They're going everywhere looking for the gold and destroying the land. But Geological Survey Department say, $10 million a year, they can do a lot of the exploratory survey. So you mean to me who say, this area, there is proving gold reserves. Then we allocate it to the small-scale miners, give them common user facilities. The tailings they can get right now, they get only 30% from the tailings. The common user facilities to use to get the gold out of the tailings, they will get up to 90%. Instead of 30%. And we will make, we will license them. And I'm going to set up a minerals development bank. Because I believe, said, that is the future for Ghana. We will make millionaires out of the small-scale miners. So that we are not chasing them to seize their equipment. but we are helping them to acquire equipment, giving them places where they can mine and become medium scale and ultimately, hopefully, large scale miners themselves. And these areas where Geological Survey Department finds gold or whatever, through our efforts, will only go to Ghanaians. Those concessions that we have found will only go to Ghanaians. Only go to Ghanaians. And that is. So we want to sanitize small-scale mining sector. We'll license them, we'll make the chiefs part of the district mining committees, and so on. I believe, say, then all the gold that we get will be sold to the Bank of Ghana, PMMC, or MIF, so that we will then be buying all this gold rather than allowing it to be smuggled to India, to Dubai, and so on. We'll keep the gold here, increase our foreign exchange reserves in gold, and back our city with the gold reserves. And this is the direction I'm going. So we are not just saying that we are backing the city with gold, but we are actually doing something about the mining regime to produce that gold to buy the city. And so this is where I want to take Ghana, and I think that is going to be very important. The Toswa, say Ghana say, if you look at the environment, it's a cash-based system. Bibia obey a cash. We don't have a proper credit-based system in Ghana. Workers in America, UK, Japan, wherever, they develop well. You tell Obika, say $1,000. With me, I spend it on goods worth $10,000. Why? Because of our credit system. And yes, sir. So which makes you a Canada. But Ghana, if a worker has 1,000 cedis of pay, he may not even reach the end of the month and 1,000 will finish. The credit system is not there. And so this is one area, because Ghana, we move to a credit-based system. Thankfully, the reason why that in Ushe developed countries, the reason why a credit-based system, they have individual credit scoring. Everybody that is in America has a credit score. Ubetime will say, wait, Oman is a car, wait, the credit score, so the only good credit scores, Omania credit. The only good ones, Omania credit. And as the interest rate, a bit high. But Ghana, as they say, yet now we are assumed to be bad borrowers. So, now interest rate is very high. Ultimately, so Ghana, we are now at a stage where we are ready to introduce individual credit scoring for everybody. Because of digitalization, we've done the Ghana card. That means every individual has a unique identity. We've integrated the Ghana card to your bank account, to your Momo account, to your DVLA, to your GRA, to your SNIT. It's across now. Ghana is now in the position to do individual credit scoring now, happening in the developed world. In sub-Saharan Africa, there's only one country that is doing it. South Africa is the only country that does individual credit scoring. Ghana, before the end of this year, in fact in a few months, will become the next country in Africa to do individual credit scoring. And also about businesses. Because if you are going to produce, you should be able to give people credit. And yes, sir. So that will allow you to sell more. Sana, businesses abroad behave. But you should be able to tell who can pay and who cannot pay. And see, we are on the verge of bringing in individual credit scoring in Ghana. for the first time in our history. And so I think that is where we're going. I just wanted to talk about some of these ideas that I want to move into. As president of the Republic, these are some of the things I will do. Of course, there were certain specific questions as far as different different organizations are concerned. Spare parts dealers will almost say the national and regional task force, and I think you have a point there, because because there's a lot of smuggling taking place through Togo. They assume that they have to chase everybody to determine how much it is. But if our duty is less or equal to Togo, then there will be no need for any national task force to be chasing anybody around. So we are going to sit down and talk to GRA on this issue on your behalf. We will look at the issue of VAT on the books for the publishers and printers. I think that is another good point that we can have a discussion with the GRA for on your behalf. Large and small scale miners, equipment that have been seized, we will have a discussion on that as well. I'm going to engage the relevant people. The Private Schools Association, GRA and taxes. Again, Maboso, we are going to a flat tax system, and everything will be very simple for everybody. I think we will be able to do that. Agrochemicals, exemptions from duties are not being enforced. They should be enforced, because if there are exemptions, you have one equal for. But if those exemptions are not enforced, it means the cost of production is going up. That's another matter that we are going to have to discuss with the GRA and the Ministry of Finance, because to help you care for, we have to inform these things. Otherwise, our goods will not be competitive compared to the competitors from the other foreign countries. And the same goes with farming equipment, like tractors. The duty exemptions, you are telling me they are not being enforced. So I'm going to check on that. And so in that area. Supply the poultry farms. I think that Omoyi a major point about supply of food. Eggs are there, we are not demanding the eggs, but we are supplying mackerel and sardines. I think the Minister for Education or Culture said there has been an agreement that has been reached recently, and they are going to replace the mackerel and sardines with eggs. At least 50% of the demand for mackerel and sardine will be replaced with eggs in the school. So, I know as far as that is concerned. This transport is so common kind as far as the central business district, the terminals. The regional minister said they are doing something about that as well. Abua, almost taxation, different rates of taxes for different for the same commodity. Anything I may say, let's have a flat tax. Yeah, flat tax, no. It will be the same rate for every commodity. The same commodity will not have different rates. And now eventually it will be transparent and the compliance will be higher. And then a year call. So the VAT flat rate across board, we want to help and put that in place. Guta is also concerned, say, foreigners taking away businesses and so on. And I think that is also something that we really need to look at very, very carefully. The new central market project stalled, and I think that I'm hoping that very, very soon that project will be resumed. I think that we've had some agreement with our creditors. Minister of Finance was reporting on that yesterday, and I'm hoping it's one of the projects for which disbursement is going to resume in terms of this. Now, AGI, so Omo about energy costs, and I think that is another issue. I believe we need to have some base loading pricing for the industries, but formally our problems. And also fixing the roads is something that we are moving on right now, trying to do. It's not going to be easy, but I believe that we need to bring in quite some tolling of the roads and let the private sector build a lot of our roads, and they can do it for us. This is what happens in most advanced nations, and that is what we should be doing. VAT exemptions on cancer drugs, I totally agree with that. I mean, if you look at it, they are very expensive, and people at their most vulnerable state cannot afford these things. Recently, we've had to bring in hydroxyurea for sickle cell sufferers under NHIS. Very expensive drug, but we brought it under NHIS to make it available to sickle cell sufferers. So I believe that the oncology, the cancer drugs can also benefit from these VAT exemptions and all of that. And ultimately, I also agree, as far as pharmaceuticals are concerned, for me, it has to be one of the growth poles, because we are currently every so much. And if we can manufacture them locally and give our firms the incentive, say, we will manufacture these drugs locally. Garages about import duties and the problems with registration of vehicles. And again, as I said, I want a change in the import duty regime. And I'm also compare areas. One area is for cars, or also minimum year. It will bring in a lot of positive externalities. So if you go to buy a car, you can go. It happens in many parts of the developed world. And also, I'm very, very happy to support you and to move for that sort of thing to be done. The cosmetics, the foreign countries have a competitive edge. I want to have a bit more discussion with the cosmetics side to see how we can support them, because it looks like their report and said the other countries are being supported by their governments. Obibini, my good friend, also made some points of advice concerned about the electricity tariffs. I think those are very good points. Storage facilities for our agricultural products, tomatoes, and so on, is a good thing. But the one point which I also am agreeable to, because if you look at cocoa, there's predictability of pricing. You look at tomatoes, there's no predictability. And so how do we get the farmers to continue to farm? And so we're going to have to look at the issue of predictability and say, okay, tomatoes, so many kilos is worth this amount. And this is what many countries have done. You look at the EU and so on. I believe that it makes me and help our people. So maybe I want you to support me to come. I'm coming for business. I'm coming to help you. This is where my heart is. I believe, sir, the we are bringing the innovative solutions. Many of the solutions I'm talking about,
can do better. We can do better. Stand it over. Fantastic people. Fantastic people. His Excellency, the incoming President of the Republic. Excellency, Tinasi, American Tinasi, the FFA. Patrol and Sabo Bakuko and my Excellency. What's up, Cassia? Beautiful delivery. Chairman of the committee, everybody a vote of thanks. Just a whole pie. Excellency, the Vice President. I am Benina, yes, yeah. I asked that everybody did their phone. Excellency, the last for Baba. I'm to grow any Bawumia man from Tintin. Maybe I'm trying to do some prayer for Baba. Excellency. I'm crying. I can't buy one. I'm sure we are. Nobody has said what's going on. You may be a very year. Your Excellency, it was. Now, I never put a man. Said here, opening what no share businessman. All businessmen. Now the same week, when we panel in South 2, blasters and sell. I mean, a shampoo. I mean, a shaman. Or they like to blast at you. Oh, what's not that way? Oh, businessmen works like the better. And imagine pastor to Bawumia got share blasters. And the blasters one shot. And the whole group. Thank you very much. But the Bawumia got 2 more penny. And they are very powerful. These are policies that we need for the country. And we believe that all the businessmen will be around the body near Tawich. The regional minister, the most affable, and Michelle, champion chairman, who is that chairman we know, or can't say brother in Yagina, Uhuna, and all of them Gulentino. Now I watch out. The most powerful one to me, and Michelle Papa, education minister. It is so obi kase education, you know, say, you know, and you know, country. It was slap when he can send me or see all the public schools, or so yeah, not transforming in our foreign ones, which I believe said or show videos or show pictures, and this is wonderful. And it's, you know, mommy and I and Kia was. I would say, near Opesa or Diba. Nina, before said, Ashanti Boris B. The Bonoa enemy. That's only this one, the beginner because I'm about to be, and the old way. Become a businessman, become it. Now, who you now, that's Sanitizing. You hold the flag bearer to his word. You hold to his word. And I believe, because who you said, when you research before you open his mouth. When you have a lot of research before you open his mouth. Now, like I said, Kenya would say, when you say, I'm for the children to us, I got 6 months. Now, yeah, got trouble. When we are sharing one time, we are ready to look at to us so. And you have what? Now, is that a lesson? I think I'm going to sell. Oh, Cassam. And I said, I was using that one Cassam. Oh, Cassim. Panyoti hayi, nyama muti hayi. Muti hayi. Pharmaceuticals for Negasa. Almost see. Cancer drugs. And there's some drugs you want. Diana boy, he tax. Now, Babu, and they went to the American prostate. And they were Naroma. The home and power was mediating pressure. I don't want to know. The guest in area. How much they are looking. And yeah, my businessman. You ever feel? That's it. And yet, man, event day. And let's ask Papa. It's in this road. Oh my. Yamisha, Papa. And the rest, Yamisha. We won't pay. This road, you answer you now, we won't pay. The Soviet cop, then free hand cop, and then you are, or a speech in a warrior. And you're watching the report you follow. You have to go test him or her. You have to go fast for her. Or is. So we are going to in your own pie. We are going to come and go. The show when you are come for the world to me and I. Oma ya kumoti emu oti kwe numaso. Let's see the flag bearer show sa. Akonya sani na yamu. Sani wabe tubo koi. Fale kwa subi yoni TV na. Yenda sibati ase mboni biara. Wana akawa ina aso ina show sa. The chairman out there in the campaign, National Chairman Tangocha, the regional chairman Chama Wutumi, anyone out there. Committee, Yatia, Empire, and he